Let's play. We'll start things off tonight with the number 56. Right after that, America, we have 41, 33, and that's followed by the number 47, and we'll round it out tonight for you with the number 10. Now for your winning Powerball number. Good luck, everyone.
It's November 7th, 2022. In a gas station nestled in California, a man makes an interesting decision. That day, he purchases a lottery ticket for $2. A few days pass by, and it's time for Powerball to announce its winning numbers. The same numbers on the man's ticket. Edwin Castro just became a billionaire, winning a jackpot of over $2 billion, making it the largest lottery win ever recorded. However, while some spend lightly on gambling, it isn't quite the same for others. On the other side of the world is a gamble happening on a much, much larger scale. A plan that costs possibly more than half a century to complete, $1 trillion, and potentially their entire future. A venture 500 times the size of the Powerball jackpot in order to bet on something that might not even work. Why would anyone take such a risk? Well, for Saudi Arabia, it's not a choice, but a necessity.
أن أفارق الحياة إلا وأرى الشرق الأوسط في مقدمة مصاف العالم، وأعتقد أن هذا الهدف سوف يتحقق 100%. الله يعطيك طول العمر يا سيدي.
1938 marked the start of greatness for Saudi Arabia. The demand for oil is always high as it is a fundamental energy source needed globally. As the lifeblood of industrialized nations, oil became synonymous with power, wealth, and geopolitical influence. And when this guy found oil in 2.15 million square kilometers of land, it opened the doors to prosperity. News spread overseas that the Middle East had discovered a new source of black gold, and countries wasted no time in establishing trade relations with them. Just 5 years later, US President Franklin Roosevelt declared Saudi Arabia's oil vital to US security and provided them financial support.
Centered on the vastly important question of oil.
This skyrocketed Saudi's economy from hardship to wealth. They went from an underdeveloped country in the Middle East to ranking 17th in 2022 for the highest GDP. This is due to two things. One, Saudi Arabia currently houses the second largest oil reserves in the world with about 266 billion barrels. And two, they extract it cheaply. Roughly 87% of income is generated by the petroleum industry, and about 90% of the government revenues come from oil sales. Oil also makes up about 40% of their gross domestic product. But there's a huge problem. You see, what seems like a future filled with black gold isn't entirely true. From early on, oil prices have always been consistent, slowly yet constantly increasing. In 2008, oil prices reached an all-time high of $147 per barrel. Although this wouldn't last very long. In 2009, oil prices dropped by 70%, bringing the cost per barrel to around $43. This initial decrease merely hinted at the storm to come. It would take about 2 years for prices to get back to over $100, yet only to fall again a few years later in 2016. Again, it would take about 2 years for prices to increase, but this time only to a peak of $80 per barrel, and just to fall again in 2020. Fast forward another 2 years, and the price of oil per barrel is $120, but not for long. This is the first problem. Oil prices are fluctuating more than ever, and this is a massive issue for Saudi Arabia. It directly impacts the kingdom's economic stability, leading to revenue uncertainty and hindering budget planning. Decreased oil revenue not only constrains government spending on essential services and infrastructure, but also increases the risk of fiscal deficits, which leads to borrowing or drawing from their reserves, like they did in the 2008 crash. Yet, to some extent, this issue could have been addressed if it weren't for the second problem. Let's take a closer look at their revenue. In 2017, revenue was 692 billion Saudi royals. 87 billion consisted of taxes, while revenues added up to 604 billion, of which 436 billion consisted of oil sales. In 2018, other non-oil revenues added up to 294 billion, whilst oil revenues came up to 611 billion. The following year, non-oil revenues increased, while oil earnings decreased. In 2022, this effect continues. Oil revenues decreased to $413 billion, and non-oil revenues increased to $368 billion. Fast forward to 2023, non-oil earnings make up $135 billion, and oil revenues add up to $179 billion. This is a huge win for Saudi Arabia. All they need to do is extract oil from their land and export it overseas to generate huge profits. But that's not the whole picture. Saudi Arabia's revenue reports all have one thing in common. Oil earnings always consist of the majority of the revenue, which means one thing.
Saudi Arabia rethinking its near total dependence on oil revenue.
They are completely dependent on oil. It is their lifeblood. If you were to take away their oil reserves, the Saudi economy would crumble. While this may never literally happen, oil isn't an infinite resource. Like water, there is a limit to how much of it is on our planet. That brings us to a question. How many years left until Saudi Arabia runs out of oil? There are many answers. Some range from as near as 26 years and as far as 220 years. But one thing is for certain, Saudi Arabia will run out of oil one day. And they need a solution, quickly. On April 25th, 2016, the kingdom revealed its plan.
The line is a civilization revolution.
Cristiano Ronaldo's debut in Saudi Arabia.
With three main goals: a vibrant society, a thriving economy, and an ambitious nation. Vision 2030 is a comprehensive roadmap for diversifying Saudi Arabia's economy away from its heavy reliance on oil revenue. It outlines goals and strategies across various sectors. It aims to promote private sector growth, increase foreign investment, and enhance the quality of life for Saudi citizens. A very ambitious plan. This is where it gets interesting. Announced by the Saudi Crown Prince and part of Vision 2030, NEOM is a futuristic mega-city project. 100 to 200 billion US dollars is the estimated price of a 170-kilometer linear city. The line is expected to accommodate 9 million residents in its 200-meter wide and 500-meter high walls and be finished by the year 2030. This is but one of the 14 projects that the kingdom has planned so far. Contrasting with the vast plains are the towering mountains. In these peaks is another tourism destination under construction, covering a total area of 60 kilometers with an elevation of 1,500 to 2,600 meters above sea level. This is the Trojena. It includes a ski village, ultra-luxury family and wellness resorts, and various retail stores and restaurants. It will consist of sporting events, art, music, and cultural festivals. It is expected to be completed by 2026 and attract 700,000 visitors by the year 2030. According to the Saudi press agency, the all-year-round average temperature will be 10 degrees Celsius below neighboring regions and will drop below zero during winter times, which is perfect for skiing. But that's not all. Encouraging people to visit your country and enjoy a luxury vacation is definitely appealing, but there's something apparent lacking. Something is missing. Soccer fans are waking up to breaking news. Cristiano Ronaldo has just signed with a new club, Al Nassr. A contract worth $200 million over 2 seasons. August 15th, Neymar is signed to Al Hilal, $300 million. Karim Benzema, $200 million. This would be the start of a snowball effect. Saudi Arabia's Pro League now has top-tier talent competing in their stadiums. Football is just the tip of the iceberg. Saudi Arabia has greatly invested in other sports, such as golf, cricket, horse racing, tennis, esports, Formula One, and the list goes on. With such a wide variety of talent, they are bound to attract eyes, and that's exactly what they're aiming for. Saudi Arabia is expected to host the 2029 Asian Winter Games, Expo 2030, the 2034 Asian Games, the Spanish Super Cup until 2029, and the 2034 World Cup. However, this grand vision comes with a staggering price tag: $1 trillion, and possibly over 50 years of time. It's a gamble of monumental proportions, the largest in history, a bet on the future that could either save or break the destiny of future generations. And so, the stage is set, the stakes are high, and the future hangs in balance. Will Neon be the biggest jackpot in history, or will it crumble to the weight of its ambitious goals? Only time will tell. But one thing is for certain: the journey has only just begun.